But then the match that I didn't think I would like, and as it turned out, I think is my favorite. Gunther and Miz for the Intercontinental title. Because I couldn't watch the women's war games. The Escobar Carlito match got fucked up. Rhea was unfortunately tanked by greenness. So this was pretty much the match, except for the final event, which we'll get to here in a few minutes.
I told you you would like this, and I told you every time you put down the Miz and you actually watch his stuff, you end up liking it.
Well, yeah, because the little he knows he knows what to do. He just looks so horrible, visually. But this is what Gunther hasn't been pinned in 2 years since he came to the main roster, and they made a point of saying that. And they put that over. And also, the thing is, Miz worked with him like he was supposed to. Miz had to fire back with everything he had. Gunther would toy with him. Gunther would chop him once, he'd go down. Miz would hit Gunther 7 or 8 times and have to go for the leg. But it was because of the size disparity. And that's the way that these matches work. And Gunther, as a gimmick, as a personality, a performer, doesn't work without giving him a long winning streak and credibility. Because he's not the goddamn Sid Vicious bodybuilder type giant. He's a wrestler, and he needs that credibility put into what he does, and then it gets over time. So they've really invested, and it's paid off, and he's over as a heel. And they worked this match. I wrote, Miz is wrestling a smart match. He went for the legs. He tried to take the big man off his feet, take his supports out from under him. Stole a little from Bret Hart with the figure 4 around the post. But Gunther, again, would stay in control most of the time with his physicality and the chops and the clotheslines. And when Miz would get the opportunity to make a comeback, then the people were with it because he was really firing up and really getting a flurry, and then Gunther would shut him down. So they had a good match through, and then when they started the false finishes, nothing was ridiculous. Nobody did anything they shouldn't. Miz didn't goddamn pick Gunther up and give him goddamn a jackknife power bomb or whatever. They went back and forth with Miz trying to be more resourceful and Gunther being more powerful. And then finally, they did the deal where Gunther got the sleeper and Miz, in holding on to the turnbuckle, pulled the pad off. And as the referee goes to put it back on or whatever, Miz went to mule kick him in the nuts, but he missed it. So he turned around and just football kicked him right in the nuts. And the people went crazy. And Miz is wrestling at this point as a babyface like MJF does as a babyface, to do the dirty tricks to get the babyface pop. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the same concept, but MJF is better verbally, it is fresher, and it got over to a smarter audience. But nevertheless, and I don't mean smarter in terms of intelligence, I mean in terms of the inner workings of wrestling, the AEW audience is somewhat smarter. Anyway, boom, 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 they go a little bit back and forth, and then finally, Gunther hit a splash off the top and got a deep hooked Boston Crab on him, and Miz couldn't get the ropes and finally had to tap. And it was an okay finish, but a really good match, and it continues to elevate and or keep Gunther over. This was never, now that we see how this worked out, it was not meant to. I had trepidations. They were going to ruin it. But it's not meant to stop Gunther's streak. It's meant to build and elevate him more for whatever they've got planned. So for what it was, I kind of like this the best of everything, of the whole night.
I thought this was really good. I won't say I liked it the best of anything because, of course, there was a big moment at the end that everyone will remember from the pay-per-view.
Well, I mean in terms of a match.
In terms of a match, it was good. The Miz is better than he gets credit for. It'll be interesting to see how much further they go with this, him as a babyface. But Gunther, especially lately, with the mini programs of sorts with Gable and I guess even Ciampa, The Miz, various people. Like, this is the sports-based wrestling someone like me talks about.
Yeah.
It's not two guys in trunks grappling. It's the big heel who can talk, who's out there wrestling with a guy and they're telling a logical story in the match. That's sports-based wrestling. Treating it all like it's legitimate, not let's go out there and very gingerly exchange holds.
And Gunther also openly saying, you're an entertainer, or these people are entertainers, the ring is sacred to me, I'm a sportsman. That feeds into that and makes it work. Because he's a prick trying to take all the fans' fun away. Like me. But yes, sports-based Gunther. That's what we ought to call him. Sporty Gunther.
I mean, just think about everything for the Royal Rumble coming up. Just everyone involved. And then Gunther. I mean, they have all these guys at the top, and Gunther's, I mean, technically he's not a top guy, but he's the Intercontinental Champion. They're developing this. It's working for him. Braun Breaker still hasn't been brought up. He just added a couple of people at the top to this. It's pretty exciting, just all the possibilities right now.
And again, we said a couple of years ago, boy, they need some talent. They need some stars. And now, boom, 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 boom.
Wait until Brock shows up again at the Rumble or something.
Well, yeah, that's right. We don't know when they're going to pull that trigger. And then, again, there's people, the mainstream, there's people on their cards and on their shows that people are going to see in the movie theaters, that people are watching on the internet, Pat McAfee, Logan Paul, whatever. They got fingers in everything.
Man, there was no Logan Paul on this show. Think about how many guys who were in the top mix weren't even on this show. No LA Knight, no Logan Paul, no Roman Reigns, no Solo.
They didn't need him. No Paul Heyman.
There's a lot going on right now.
Well, but we got fingered in the next match. They needed some talent here. We got Escobar and Dragon Lee for the reasons we mentioned earlier. Whether Carlito was injured and they found out and had to do that angle or whatever the case. I can't believe they would have switched an advertised match to this unless this was legitimate.
Yeah, but then why blow through Dragon Lee like this? That's the other weird thing. And when they announced this was the substitute match, I said, okay, good move, Triple H. You want to have one match on your show that's going to cater to like the AEW audience, because these are two guys that could work a lucha match for a WWE crowd and make it good and get big pops. It wasn't even that. It was, a fine match, but it was pretty quick and unremarkable.
Well, I wrote it looks like I'm watching Rampage. You got Escobar, who could be Rush, working with a guy with a lucha mask on, which could be anybody. And in 8 minutes, he just hit a power bomb on him and some other kind of move, and boom, 1, 2, 3. Thanks for coming, Mr. Lee. So
1, 2, 3. Look at Mr. Lee.
Look at Mr. Lee. So they want to keep pushing Escobar, and I guess they just said, well, fuck it. We're just going to goddamn have him beat Dragon Lee in 8 minutes or whatever. But so that was that. I don't think we need to go into much detail. Because the New Day was there to sell us some Slim Jims.